After the abysmal Halloween 3, plans to continue with the franchise and in the direction they were going with were kind of put on hold for some years. It wasn't until this film in 1988, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, that they basically decided to go back to the franchise's roots with the character of Michael Myers. That decision is a bit of a double-edged sword, because while we get what I think here is a pretty decent film, it will lead to several films that are not, and it also means we're done with the idea of having these different stories that unfold under the Halloween banner, which I think would have been a pretty good way to go if you could just get some decent films out. But there you go, we're with this. We're back with Michael Myers, despite him seemingly being blown up in the second film. Both him and Donald Pleasence are back as Dr. Loomis. It appears that the explosion didn't quite do as much damage to them as we were led to believe. So putting that suspension of disbelief to one side for just a moment, we pick up with the story of Jamie Lloyd, who is the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis's character from the first film, Laurie Strode. Now, Laurie Strode gave her daughter up into the foster care system, maybe because she believed she'd be in danger, who knows. Basically, it's just because they couldn't get Jamie Lee Curtis to come back for this, so hey, we'll go with this for now. I don't mind, however, because I like this character. I like the character of Jamie Lloyd, and that is in no small part thanks to the performance by actress Danielle Harris. She gives an incredible performance here, and she's pretty much on par with all of the actors that she's on screen with, who are much older than us, much more seasoned actors. The teenage characters in this as well also feel, to me, a bit more believable even than the first film, which, I thought the first film did a pretty good job of painting pictures of teenage characters that at that point in time we weren't used to seeing. I think this film goes one step further. At one point we have this one teenage girl who basically tells a guy to F off, and that kind, even in the first film we didn't have that kind of language, we didn't have that kind of behaviour from the female characters. So there's definitely an advancement in what they're allowing women to do in these films by this point. Also, despite the rather low budget, they get away with quite a bit in this film. Some really tense moments. One particular standout set piece takes place on the roof of a house, and you do kind of believe that these actresses, these two actresses, Danielle Harris being one of them, are in danger. And the fact that she is such a young girl, I don't know if it's just the father in me now coming out, I do kind of have this protective mentality towards her during the film. I see my daughter, my own daughter, in that character as I'm watching it, and you do want to help her, you do want to fight for her as the film goes on, and never more so than in this sequence on the roof of this house. The girl that she gets to play alongside with throughout most of this film is played by Ellie Cornell, and the character is Rachel, and I like the relationship between the two. She's basically her foster sister, not her actual sister, but her foster sister. And they make this girl a likeable character. She has some traits that are typically teenage that kind of rub you the wrong way, but on the whole, she's got a good heart. It's nice to have Donald Pleasence back as Loomis as well. I like his performance here. There's one moment in a gas station when he comes face to face with Michael, and he literally asks Michael to take him instead of going back to Haddonfield and doing what he's going to do. And it's a moment that is filled with quite a lot of pathos, I think. You feel the mental anguish that this character has lived with for so many years. I think the music in this film is also a bit of an improvement over the second film, which I thought got a little bit too synthy. I'm not that big into synth, but here, yeah, there's a bit more piano, more instruments in there that I like. It kind of brings a bit of a freshness to that familiar John Carpenter theme. I'm not overly keen on the look of Myers here though, Michael Myers. He kind of looks a bit square-shouldered, and he doesn't look like he's got a neck. It's just, he's got this collar that comes up, and it looks a bit clunky. It doesn't look very fluid in his movements. So I much prefer how he looked in those first two films, if I'm being honest. This is a film about the nature of evil, about what is evil, and that's what Halloween does when it's at its best. You know, that's what the first film was about. If you look at the second film, it was primarily just a slasher flick. It was Michael Myers going around hacking people up, and I lost interest in that. Whereas you look at the first film, it asks the questions: what is evil? You know, is it genetic? Is it passed down through the family line, or is it some outer otherworldly force that kind of corrupts us human beings? And while we never really get a true answer to that, the fact that it's asking those questions and then leaving it to us to decide is something I admire about the film. And it does that here as well. That's essentially what this film does. You know, we have this moment when Jamie touches Michael Myers' hand, and then we get the awesome ending, which I won't spoil if you've never seen the film, but we get an excellent ending, which was quite a ballsy move, I think. It's not the traditional way to go with the ending of a film. But it asks the question, you know, where did that evil come from? Did it come directly from Michael Myers? Was it passed on? Or, you know, is it a genetic thing, or is something directing it? Is something kind of pointing it at these people and passing it on? So yeah, interesting questions in a film which I thought, quite surprisingly, it was pretty decent. The best sequel so far in the franchise, I'd say, out of these 4 movies that I've watched. So yeah, really pleasantly surprised. I give Halloween 4 a 3.5 out of 5. But what about you? Have you seen this film? And if so, what did you think about it? Comment below, let me know, and until next time, crack in.